Donald Trump is going to create peace in Europe. I think he's going to do it in the Middle East as well. But let me explain in this video his plan for Ukraine. He's not publicly announced it, but I've got loads and loads of inside information. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, but more importantly, hit the bell notification icon. It's the best way to absolutely guarantee you get all of my videos as soon as they are released. Well, I've woven together various sources, some public, some private, just to work out precisely what Donald Trump is going to do in terms of creating peace in Europe, specifically by ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. But before I tell you exactly what it is, why don't we just take a look at what he said in the White House yesterday?
No, we had a great call, and it lasted for a long time, over an hour this morning. I also had with President Zelensky a very good call after that. And I think we're on the way to getting peace. I think President Putin wants peace, and President Zelensky wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed. We're very far away from that particular war, but that's a vicious war. Probably 1.5 million soldiers killed in a short period of time. I've never seen anything. I have pictures that are, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe what you have to look at. Young, beautiful soldiers that are just being decimated. And it would be nice to end it immediately. But we had a very good talk with, people didn't really know what President Putin's thoughts were, but I think I can say with great confidence he wants to see it ended also. That's good. And we're going to work toward getting it ended, and as fast as possible. It's a horrible situation going over. It's flat land, and the bullet goes off, and the only thing it can hit is a body, a human body, a young human body. And they're losing just tremendous numbers of mostly soldiers. Just the cities and towns have been largely demolished. It's a shame what's happened to that country. It would have never happened if I were president. That I can tell you. Would have never happened. It's to look at that. And October 7th would have never happened either, by the way, Middle East. But we'll get it. I think we'll get it. We'll get something done. We're going to be meeting. Actually, tomorrow they're meeting in Munich, as you know, and we're going to have some other meetings. And I'll be dealing with President Putin largely on the phone, and we ultimately expect to meet. In fact, we expect that he'll come here, and I'll go there, and we're going to meet also probably in Saudi Arabia. The first time we'll meet in Saudi Arabia, see if we can get something done. But we want to end that war. That war is a disaster.
Sir, just to be clear, do you see any future in which Ukraine returns to its pre-2014 borders?
Well, I think Pete said today that that's unlikely, right? It certainly would seem to be unlikely. They took a lot of land, and they fought for that land, and they lost a lot of soldiers. But it would just seem to me, and I'm not making an opinion on it, but I've read a lot on it, and a lot of people think that that's unlikely. Some of it will come back. I think some of it will come back. Yeah, some of that land will come back.
These are both Russia's.
Who are you with?
Sorry, me.
Yeah.
AFP.
You who?
AFP, Agence France Presse.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask you, the things that the Secretary of Defense was talking about, the 2014 borders and the lack of NATO membership. Ultimately, these are both demands that Russia has made in the past. Is there not a danger of handing Russia a kind of win on this?
Well, I think that if you look at the war, the way the war is going, you'll have to make your own determination. I'm just here to try and get peace. I don't care so much about anything other than I want to stop having millions of people killed. Last night, Kiev got hit very, very hard. I want to see people stop getting killed. That war is ridiculous. It should have never happened.
Well, there you have it. I mean, I think that Donald Trump doesn't want Zelensky to join NATO, and certainly that's something that Putin will be pushing very hard for. Let's just be very clear on something. First and foremost, when the Soviet Union collapsed, various countries got the assets that were in their own countries. Well, Sebastopol, the Black Sea base, did not go to Ukraine. There's a very simple reason for that, because the Black Sea nuclear fleet is something that was perceived to be important to stay in Russia. Crimea has always been a very, very Russian place, as has been a lot of the places that have been taken during this war between Ukraine and Russia. Now, first and most important thing, This was an aggressive war. You know, Ukraine was invaded when it shouldn't have been invaded. Now, we can talk all day about these separatists and whatever. The reality is that Vladimir Putin has always publicly said that the fall of the Soviet Union was the biggest disaster to befall the Russian people, and they wanted to bring back the Russian Empire as it was by making territorial gains. There's no doubt that he wanted to sweep through Odessa and then take Transnistria. And frankly, if he could, he'd cut off Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia by linking up with Kaliningrad through Belarus. But let me tell you what Donald Trump is saying. First of all, he's saying that Ukraine shouldn't get a blank check. And what he wants is, he wants all future aid to be loans to Ukraine in exchange for mineral rights under Ukraine, which is something apparently Zelensky has agreed to. He's also said that he wants to have bilateral discussions with Vladimir Putin, as you saw in the video. But I think the most critical thing of them all is this deal on security, because I think Zelensky will talk about wanting only two security agreements. One will be NATO, the other will be membership of the European Union. Now, I will tell you, I think this deal is incredibly easy to make, simply because whether you join NATO or not, if you join the European Union, it's going to be a good thing for Ukraine. But let me tell you something else. As somebody who's of Irish descent, look, you talk about these territories that have been taken by Vladimir Putin. I don't think people were welcoming Russian soldiers with open arms simply because of the way that the whole thing was managed. But there are people, Russian speakers, who want to become part of the Russian Federation. And I genuinely believe that they should be allowed to do it. Now, that means that Ukraine has a big advantage. Yes, it does lose part of its territory, but those bits that are left are very, very Western facing. We've seen this before with invasions of Georgia, where the rump that is left of the country becomes much more pro-Western, and essentially the Russian speakers leave in the way that they do. Look at the re-election of President Sandu of Moldova. Simply because the Transnistrians didn't vote, that created a much more significant and solid lead than she would have had otherwise. By the way, President Sandu of Moldova is not of Indian descent. People keep asking me about that. So what will Donald Trump do? Very simply, I think he'll allow Ukraine to join the European Union. He'll stop sending them arms willy-nilly and instead get them to pay. He'll force Vladimir Putin into a deal, and Putin's frankly running out of options. But also, finally, I think there's a really important point, and the point is Manchuria. Why on earth am I talking about Manchuria? The reality is the Russian Federation could collapse, and if it does, then there will be an invasion by China of Vladivostok. Manchuria, remember, is the bit of China that the Tsarist regime took off China, and China has always wanted it back. I think we've got to remember a couple of things. Vladimir Putin is without question the worst military commander in recent European history. His successes have been almost zero. And in fact, actually really is pretty terrible in terms of foreign policy and in terms of military prowess. But he has brought the Russian Federation to the verge of collapse. And it's something that we cannot allow to happen, because I think if the Russian republics were to turn on each other, then that would be a complete and total disaster. So I think that the plan to bring Ukraine to the table and to force a territorial dispute, force a territorial agreement, is something that's going to be absolutely vital. I don't think they'll agree to let Ukraine into NATO, but I do think that that will be EU membership, and that will be the deal that Zelensky will accept. Nobody's going to invade an EU country. That's the thing that's guaranteed Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia in reality. But also, it means that little Moldova will join the European Union as well, because there's no way Romania will sign the deal without that happening. I think this is all very positive stuff, and I appreciate that what I've said is only a broad brush, but in reality, I think giving the territory that's Russian speaking to the Russians, giving rump European Union membership, making sure everybody gets given a bill, and then the opportunity to welcome Russia back into an international family. And of course, what we do with Vladimir Putin, God knows. But I think not even Vladimir Putin now is stupid enough to attempt another war. Until next time, goodbye.